win this one. Obviously, starting from pole position, he is a tough man to beat. It's going to be really strong between those front couple of rows. They're about to head round then, and again, the points leaders coming into this will be Team Redline. They're on 100 points. They need to get to 230 points to enter finalist mode. A victory after that will seal the crown, and they will become the team's champions here at the Esports World Cup. The analysis is over. All the teams have done all of the work to build their way up to this point, as Championship Sunday will begin at one of Rensport's newest circuits. The Jeddah Corniche circuit will host the opening race of the day, and Max Benneker, the Gamers 8 champion, will start from pole position. Sebastian Job, Darren McCormack and Luke Bennett on the 2 rows behind. Let's see as we head down into the first corner. Max Benneker with a good launch down to that first turn. Josh Rogers already trying to go on the attack in that Porsche Commander, but cannot make any progress forward. He has to settle for 6th spot. Big move to the inside coming in for Sebastian Job, but the outside line is going to work in favour of Max Benneker. He's not fed into the wall this time as we head through turn 3 down towards 4. Look at Josh Rogers working his way forward.
Josh Rogers made a blissful start, managed to catch Luke Bennett unawares. I must say, Sebastian Job looked a little bit fragile coming out of turn 2. McCormack tested him ever so slightly, but it's still the status quo out at the front. It's Max Benneker for Mouse, who now has a lead of just over 3.5 to now 4/10 of a second, and it's climbed ever so slightly more. Darren McCormack in 3rd. Rogers solidifying his place in the top 4, which is brilliant. Even look at Dominic Blyer, 6th place ahead of Erhan Yuyovski.
And James Baldwin has had a couple of issues on that start. He drops down to 12th position, so Guild only scoring at the moment with Bonner House. Do remember the points are 25-20 for second, 16 of course for 3rd position, 13 for 4th place, and then it's 10, 8, 6, 4, 3, 2, 1 and 0 for the rest of the positions. Here comes Josh Rogers on the attack then of Darren McCormack, and will he sneak his way through as we head into the 3rd and final sector of the Jeddah Corniche circuit? He has to be brave to make it stick down here, and I don't think he's going to try it, surely not.
No, he might just renege for now. Coming through this very fast chicane, it gets so tight to the wall on the right-hand side, and Rogers, thinking wisely of it, still remains on the tail though of Darren McCormack. We saw McCormack actually do an incredible move, just broke early coming into the final bend at turn 27, and managed to take the lead of the race in the process as well. As we then watch the cars now start to fan out, there you can see Sebastian Job in 2nd. Once again, McCormack trying him, and also being tried is Joshua Rogers as Luke Bennett sends it up his inside coming through the final bend, but Rogers with enough leverage to hang on. But the question is, will the slipstream favour Luke Bennett on the run down towards turn 1?
Oh, he's getting squeezed a little bit out into the barrier here as he slotted the tiny gap. He wants the outside line for T1. Look at Darren McCormack as well, looking to the inside of Sebastian Job. He's going to slow down Josh Rogers though with an early braking point. Rogers should be able to hang on here. The outside line for T2, outside for T1 slightly better, outside for T2 slightly better, and it'll give him the inside for turn 4. So Josh Rogers is able to hang on. Max Benneker though leading comfortably, 6/10 clear of Sebastian Job. Darren McCormack, I think he's less worried about Mouse. He's more worried about trying to get past Redline, because they're what these drivers are trying to focus on now is they're trying to focus on lowering the amount of points that Redline are scoring. That's the focus right now.
Well, it has to be, because they started on the highest level of points anyway. They're on 100 coming into this very race, so it's imperative that they stop them scoring as much as possible in order for them to have an opportunity to meet them potentially in finalist mode later on today. But still, and at this point, Max Benneker in control. That gap once again, as you so rightly say, increasing. Job, I think, more wary as well of McCormack in behind. 3/10 between McCormack and Job, with Rogers also very much in the mix. I'm liking this from Porsche Commander so far.
Do you want to know something about this race as well? We've had 4 consecutive victories from Sebastian Job, haven't we? And that obviously broke a record. We could be getting 4 consecutive victories for Max Benneker.
We could.
Because, of course, he did win 3 of the races yesterday. It was his last 3 races. He was only beaten by Kevin Ellis Jr. yesterday in the 4 races that he did. This would make it 4 on the bounce. Maybe it's a little bit skewed because of how the races work, but hey, look, stats are stats, mate. I'd say Sebastian Jones is probably slightly more impressive in that Drivers' Championship, but hey, you can't say no to stats.
You could argue that yesterday was the perfect litmus test for him, as now wheel-to-wheel goes Joshua Rogers as he looks to try and move up into 3rd third. He's going to try and have to tackle a very good McCormack, who I think managed to actually graze the wall on the outset of turn 27. They're going to run, I think, wheel to wheel, heading down towards turn 1. A mere fly's eyelash gap between those two. Luke Bennett is going to try and make it 3 wide as they head down in towards turn 1. Heavy on the brakes. In comes Bennett. McCormack might lose out twice. Rogers up to third. The Mercedes down a place. And here comes Luke Bennett to pick up the crumbs.
McCormack absolutely clobbered the curb at turn 2 as well as he manages to hang on to 4th spot. After all that, they've not switched positions, but the gaps have grown. 1 second between Rogers and Sebastian Jobe. Luke Bennett was always going to try and make that 3 wide. That was always on the table for him. It maybe, yeah, sure, it didn't work, but sometimes you've got to respect the attempt. Do remember as well, by the way, if they pick up penalties in this, the penalties will take points away from how they are in the championship. So just because you might not be scoring too much for your team, you can take points away from your team.
Yeah, which again promotes decent driving at this stage, so they'll have to. And we saw some fractious moments at this circuit at the Jeddah Corniche through the course of yesterday during the second chance phase of the team's championship, which bought Williams a seat to the top 4 that had already been confirmed, therefore making it 6 teams after Mouse would also complete a sensational run with Max Benneker taking 3 wins on the spin. And yet, as you so rightly say, it could yet be 4 as well. But McCormack now starting to rein in on Rogers. Might get a chance to take his place back. Not quite yet.
I thought, do you know what? I thought he was going to do it then. Because he was coming in with an absolute head of steam. I think he's waiting to try and do it at the final corner, of course, where Rogers was able to make that move stick on him. Luke Bennett's going to be close as well. Let's see if Darren McCormack will sneak one down the inside. You've got Luke Bennett going on the attack. Could be 3 wide down to the 27th and final corner here. As there goes onto the brakes. In the middle of the road goes Josh Rogers. He's sat there because he's just covering it all off. This could be the move down into T1, though. There's going to be some big slipstreams here.
There certainly will. I think Rogers did a good job with that, actually. Managed to close off any sort of attack here from McCormack. And McCormack had to worry about Bennett in behind. He is getting the slipstream now and is moving to the outside, coming towards turn 1. Rogers trying to defy any possible move here by keeping to the inside. It will become the outside, but not so much heading out of turn 2. He's managed to hold both the inside into turn 1 and on the outset of turn 1. McCormack also holding on to 4th.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, look, I will say when it comes to Josh Rogers and his consistency, maybe you'll say that Porsche's struggling, maybe it isn't, I don't know. Yet to take a victory so far in these Esports World Cup competitions. Only has 1 podium. Obviously did the entirety of the Drivers' Championship, took part in both races, of course, because you have to. Did 2 races on Friday for the Team Championship. Obviously was not a part of the competition yesterday because they'd already made their way through. And so what that means is that you know, he's looking at his 2nd podium of the Esports World Cup. That is absolutely crazy. The driver with the most wins, the most podiums in ESL R1 is looking at just his 2nd podium in all the races we've done so far.
It's extraordinary, isn't it? Absolutely extraordinary, but he is a very talented individual. Benneker, though, once again, flexing that pace. That's, I must say, truly tantalising. He holds the fastest lap as well at the moment. Sebastian Jobe working hard to try and bring that gap in, but is showing no signs of decreasing at this stage, Lewis. Benneker's pace just far too supreme here at Jeddah.
Do you know, Max Benneker, right? So we talk about how Sebastian Jobe is when it comes to his wins. He's 2nd on the all-time winners list. Max Benneker's closing in on potentially moving up back to taking 2nd on the all-time winners list, which of course he has had in the past, because Sebastian Jobe has 28. Max Benneker, this could be a 25th victory. As here comes Luke Bennett to try and sneak past Darren McCormack.
Yeah, Bennett coming back in. McCormack going into the inside of Josh Rogers, but I think that was more a defensive manoeuvre than anything else. Obviously wouldn't have actually managed to pull anything off, and that was actually a little bit sloppy coming out of turn 27. It's certainly fed an opportunity now to Luke Bennett, who's going to blast down the home straight with every chance of maybe even elevating himself up to 4th and holding 4th too. McCormack with barely a nose in front. In fact, he might have lost that forward momentum now as Bennett comes through. Inside line now becomes the outside coming out of turn 2. Still the BMW M4 persisting, and look at the battle in behind. Dominic Blyer and Erhan Yovski, the Audi and the Williams Mercedes coming together alike. So both Williams in trouble here. Now this time make contact with the barrier. Bennett very nearly collecting himself into the barrier on the inside. The Audi still pursuing after Blyer, but he's had to renege as well. Both Williams defending well.
I was going to say, I would have, if I were a better man coming into this, I would have said that Luke Bennett was 100% making that move. So brave for McCormack to send it around the outside at T4. He did keep it within track limits as far as my eye was. The only reason why he was pushed over to it was because it seemed as though Luke Bennett turned in a little bit too early and clipped the barrier on the inside at T4. So McCormack hangs on the 4th spot. The important bit there, though, 2 seconds now, the gap up to the podium. We're halfway through this race. We've got 3 more laps after this one. And Luke Bennett is looking like well, he looks like the 4th man, at least in this group, as he will try and sneak his way past. We exit turn 16 and begin this run down the backstretch.
Yeah, certainly do. The sequence of corners you can pretty much take flat out, and then they have the run down towards turn 21, 22. There we can see out on our screen as Bennett looks to pursue after McCormack. Gets closer and closer, surely will not think about it, through this very daring section of circuit. Moving into sector 3 once again. But you might fancy something in the final bend. That's what they're fighting for, Lewis. The prestigious Teams Championship Trophy here at the Esports World Cup in ESL R1. And Bennett is right on the tail of McCormack. He won't think twice this time.
No, he's going to try something here down in the final corner. You're absolutely right. Red line especially. They are chasing that shield. Can they take it? Can they take the inaugural Rennsport competition here in the Esports World Cup? Can they fit their key into the middle of that trophy? They've done so much and obviously put the key into the totem as well. Big moves in the background as well as Luke Bennett's closing up to the back of Darren McCormack. Don Bly's under pressure as Erhan Yovski's going to send one down the inside. They all settle though for the positions they're currently in, so it's still going to be McCormack from Bennett, from Blyer, from Yovski and Collins as well.
I was quite surprised that Bennett did not plan for the move. He was right on the back of McCormack. We saw Charlie Collins also having a look around the outside of both Yovski and Blyer. Now, whilst all that was going on, Job briefly crept to within that 0.4 of a second gap of Max Benneker. It's since flown back out again, 8 to 9 tenths, so still suffering somewhat. Joshua Rogers, though, has been alleviated of any pressure whatsoever. McCormack is now well over 2 seconds clear now of McCormack further back. McCormack very much has the defensive shields raised.
The victory for Sebastian Job, which we saw in the 2nd race back on Friday that he was taking part in, I think it kind of reignited him a little bit, because he obviously for the final 4 races on the Drivers' Championship we had on Thursday, he kind of dropped off a little bit, and we saw him struggle. I saw him head in hands when the Drivers' Champion was crowned as Kevin Siggy, who we'll see out in the next race. I mean, look, it's a very interesting one as to whether Sebastian Job could sneak up to the back of Benneker, but at the moment, it seems as though Benneker's maybe a little bit too big. We're right on board with Don Blyer. You can see forward how much closer Luke Bennett's closing into the rear end of Darren McCormack. Will there be a move coming down into the final turn?
Well, we'll soon find out. There could yet be an opportunity. Blyer has managed to at least move himself somewhat ahead of Erhan Yovski, but that's going to dissipate as they make their way down the straight with the power of slipstream. McCormack with Bennett starting to hover in the background as now the Williams looks like he might be in trouble. Lap 6 of 8 will then eventually move on to the penultimate lap of the race. We just saw Joshua Rogers in the distance make his way out of turn 27. Nothing phasing him right now at Porsche Coanda as they now burst down the straight. Sebastian Job now outside of a second of Max Benneker. Well and truly, that gap still moving outwards as now incoming Luke Bennett once more on the tail of the Williams, once again deciding not to go for it. So I think he knows that the fight for the win is obviously not going to happen. Might as well wait till the final lap in order to make the move here on McCormack.
Yeah, indeed. This is very interesting indeed. And these points do matter for Redline. What this will do, though, with their positions of 2nd and 5th, this will deny them the opportunity of getting into finalist mode after just 3 races, even if there are 1-2s from Joe Bennett in the next race, and then, of course, from Kevin Siggy and Jeff Rietveld in race 3. It will not be enough to get them into finalist mode for race 4. That is what we're already seeing. That is one piece of information we already have. So we will need at least 5 races now. We thought it was going to be at least 4, but now we have that one confirmed. It will absolutely be at least 5 races.
Which I think is what we predicted anyway,
oh,
I think, at this point. So we knew it wasn't going to be easy, but Max Benneker, I think, utilising the time he had on track yesterday to great effect. Obviously, a lot of these teams having a break yesterday just due to the mere fact that they already qualified. Of course, Porsche Coanda were one of those teams, as were Team Redline. Also joining them were Guild and, of course, Vitality. As now we watch Joshua Rogers in a world of his own. No man's land for the man from Porsche Coanda, from Westfalen in Australia, representing here the wonder from Down Under, who is the full season ESL R1 champion. Had a tough time, as we alluded to, back in the Drivers' Championship phase, not even qualifying for finalist mode. Well, he has a second chance here to again allay the demons, at least put them to bed and feed his team an opportunity. Another man looking for opportunity is Luke Bennett.
Yeah, here he goes, looking down the inside. This could be the look. It's more in defence, though,
Look
of Don Blyer, because Blyer's coming straight around the outside. McCormack will feed the slipstream to his teammate, who can't quite sneak it around the outside. There we go, straight back over. But Luke Bennett is following that slipstream. He's covering off the Williams man directly behind him. As there we go, here comes the look. Don Blyer once again trying to look, but it's just no overlap, so he can't quite do it. The straight line speed in that BMW team Redline car is just about strong enough, but it was on the final lap of the race. He cannot make his way past McCormack. Look at that move, though, from Nijovski on Collins.
That was a very late move from Nijovski. I thought he might have collected Don Blyer, but he didn't. That's a relief. Obviously, Charlie Collins, though, under pressure, and he's being joined by Bono House as well. So you've got two Audis now peppering against the Porsche's rear spoiler. Collins, though, in 7th place, has now got quite the gap to find on Dominic Blyer. It's stretched out to beyond a second almost immediately after that move, heading in towards Turn 1. As we now take a look at our race leader, it's Max Benneker, and he's 1.4, nearly 1.5 in front.
Yes, indeed. They head their way then into Turn 13. It's been a mega drive from Max Benneker. I don't see any major position switches in the top grouping. Benneker's way too far clear of Job, right? And the rest of them, they're all too separated.
Yeah, they are. Just look at them, fine margins. The only battle really in the top 5 is Bennett and McCormack. That gap has now almost stretched out ever so slightly as well. Nijovski is still chasing after Charlie Collins. Of course, we saw that erupt heading through Turn 1 as they now make their way out of the middle sector, heading down through towards the final sector very shortly. But first and foremost, they've got the dicey section of turns 21, 22 and 23 to come as we now watch as the Williams proceeds onwards. Of course, Luke Bennett still in behind and waiting for his time on Darren McCormack.
Well, Max Benneker then will come down into the final complex of corners, and it looks like it's going to be a very solid victory for Benneker once more. Sebastian Joe will follow him across the line, but it's all about these batters behind. Will Luke Bennett find his way past Darren McCormack? I think that gap's a little bit too large. It looks like Williams might be finishing 4th and 6th. Here comes big bad Benneker out through the final corner as he's going to take yet another victory. It is 4 in a row for Max Benneker as he joins Sebastian Job on that record. Job will take 2nd spot, and Josh Rogers, what a top 3 that is, by the way. Benneker, Job and Rogers as well. Fantastic drive. Job doesn't look particularly pleased, does he?
No, he certainly doesn't. Similar facial expressions from what we saw in the Drivers' Championship. Josh Rogers, though, I think will take solace